Watch this.
Watch what?
We're in trouble.
We have a new enemy. The young rebel who destroyed the Death Star.
I am your father. 4 words that changed cinema forever.
I am your father.
Sending shockwaves through theaters and redefining what a blockbuster sequel could be. But before that iconic revelation, The Empire Strikes Back had already plunged audiences into a universe suddenly darker, deeper, and more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. From its harrowing opening on the ice planet Hoth, to the haunting carbon freeze sequence that left audiences gasping, this wasn't just the next Star Wars adventure, it was the moment a cultural phenomenon transformed into mythology. When The Empire Strikes Back arrived in theaters in May 1980, the cultural landscape was primed for disappointment. Following up the phenomenon that was the original Star Wars seemed an impossible task. Sequels were typically pale imitations of their predecessors, cash grabs that recycled familiar elements without advancing the story in meaningful ways. Instead, what audiences received was something far more ambitious. With a budget of $18 million, modest by today's standards, but a significant investment for the time, George Lucas took the extraordinary step of financing the film himself, mortgaging his future on a vision that would expand his universe in ways that defied convention. The gamble paid off spectacularly, with the film eventually grossing over $538 million worldwide and cementing the franchise as a cultural institution. But Empire wasn't just a financial triumph. It represents the moment when the Star Wars saga transcended from innovative space adventure to something approaching mythology. This wasn't merely a continuation, it was a deepening, a darkening, a film that dared to leave its heroes broken, separated, and in some cases, literally incomplete. What The Godfather Part 2 did for crime dramas, Empire did for science fiction. It proved that a sequel could surpass its predecessor not by offering more of the same, but by challenging audiences to embrace complexity, moral ambiguity, and emotional depth. Today, we're exploring how The Empire Strikes Back transformed not just the Star Wars franchise, but forever altered our expectations of what a sequel could achieve. In a cinematic landscape now dominated by franchises and extended universes, we can trace so much back to the artistic and commercial choices made in this pivotal film. The middle chapter that refused to simply bridge the gap between beginning and end, instead becoming the gravitational center around which the entire saga orbits. AT-AT walkers emerging from the mist of an icy battlefield. A tiny green Jedi Master lifting an X-Wing from a swamp through the power of the Force. The sleek corridors of Cloud City bathed in sunset orange as a dark figure waits to spring his trap. These visual moments don't just define The Empire Strikes Back, they revolutionized what was possible in science fiction filmmaking. The technical achievements of Empire represented quantum leaps beyond the already groundbreaking original. Under the guidance of special effects pioneer Phil Tippett, the Imperial Walker sequence combined stop-motion animation with practical effects in ways that had never been attempted at this scale. Each Walker model stood about 18 inches tall, meticulously manipulated frame by frame to create the lumbering, unstoppable gait that made them so menacing. When you watch closely, you can see the incredible attention to detail. Snow spraying up with each footfall, articulated joints moving with mechanical precision, and even subtle camera shakes to simulate the impact tremors. But the film's most remarkable technical achievement might be Yoda. Before CGI characters became commonplace, Frank Oz and his team created a fully articulated puppet capable of conveying wisdom, playfulness, and power. Weighing only 13 pounds and controlled by Oz from below the set, Yoda required 5 puppeteers to bring his subtle expressions to life. The character was so convincing that crew members reportedly began treating the puppet as a living being between takes, a testament to the craft involved. Visually, director Irvin Kershner and cinematographer Peter Soshitsky crafted a film of striking contrasts. The blinding whites of Hoth give way to the misty, primordial greens of Dagobah, before transitioning to the artificial perfection of Cloud City, with its blues, whites, and sunset oranges. Each environment doesn't just serve as backdrop, it reflects the emotional and spiritual journey of our characters. Nowhere is this more evident than in the carbon-freezing chamber scene, where harsh red and blue lighting creates a hellish industrial environment for one of cinema's most emotional moments. The production faced enormous challenges behind the scenes. Filming in Norway for the Hoth sequences subjected the cast and crew to the worst winter storm in 50 years, with temperatures dropping to -20 degrees Fahrenheit and equipment freezing on the spot. Harrison Ford later recalled, "You couldn't see your hand in front of your face," as actors struggled to deliver lines while battling hypothermia. When a camera operator got lost walking back to base in whiteout conditions, the production had to rent a bulldozer to rescue him. Perhaps the greatest innovation was one rarely discussed: George Lucas's decision to self-finance the film. By investing $33 million of his own money, when adjusted for production and marketing, Lucas freed Empire from studio interference, creating a template for filmmaker independence that would influence generations. This wasn't just a technical achievement, it was a business model revolution that changed how ambitious directors approached sequel making. John Williams' score evolution deserves special mention, particularly his introduction of the Imperial March, a musical theme so powerful it transcended the film to become cultural shorthand for approaching evil. Williams recorded with the London Symphony Orchestra over 18 sessions, creating not just background music, but an essential emotional foundation that elevated every scene it accompanied. Behind all these achievements stood the unlikely figure of director Irvin Kershner, not Lucas himself, but a filmmaker known for smaller, character-driven films. When Lucas approached him, Kershner initially declined, concerned about following such a phenomenon. His eventual acceptance and focus on emotional depth over spectacle proved crucial to the film's enduring power. As Kershner famously told his cast, "This picture is about real people, not just heroes going through adventures." The infamous lightsaber duel between father and son, Han Solo's devastating "I know" reply to Leia's desperate confession, Luke dangling from the underside of Cloud City, facing an impossible truth. The Empire Strikes Back delivers scenes that transcend mere entertainment to become cultural touchstones, but these moments would be nothing without the performances that give them emotional resonance. Harrison Ford's evolution of Han Solo represents one of the film's greatest achievements. The cocky smuggler from the first film undergoes subtle but profound growth, maintaining his sardonic edge while revealing deeper layers of loyalty and vulnerability. Ford brings remarkable nuance to scenes like his torture at Vader's hands, conveying pain without melodrama, followed by a shell-shocked thousand-yard stare that communicates more than dialogue ever could. Behind the scenes, Ford's uncertain contract status for Return of the Jedi created genuine tension, with the actor reportedly telling Lucas, "I think Han Solo should die. He has no mama, no papa, no future." This real-world ambiguity infuses his performance with authentic stakes, culminating in the carbon-freezing scene where Solo's fate hangs in genuine suspense. Mark Hamill faced the unenviable challenge of transforming Luke Skywalker from farm boy to spiritual warrior. His performance is a masterclass in character development, portraying Luke's impatience and anger during training sequences with an intensity that makes his potential fall to the dark side believable. Physically, Hamill performed many of his own stunts, including hanging from precarious heights for the climactic lightsaber duel. The famous "No, I am your father" scene required Hamill to access profound emotional trauma, made more authentic by the fact that he, like the audience, was kept in the dark about the revelation until just before filming. Only Hamill, Lucas, Kirshner, and James Earl Jones knew the truth, with the script containing a fake line that Vader killed Luke's father. Carrie Fisher brings newfound depth to Princess Leia, evolving her from spirited rebel to strategic leader and reluctant romantic. Fisher's ability to convey authority among military personnel twice her age grounds the rebellion scenes in credibility, while her verbal sparring with Ford crackles with chemistry that ranks among cinema's most memorable romances. Fisher later revealed the challenges of filming the evacuation sequences on Hoth, telling an interviewer, "We were shooting in this freezing cold place and I didn't want to wear a bra under my white costume." But they insisted, because apparently there's no underwear in space. The introduction of Lando Calrissian brought Billy D. Williams into the Star Wars universe as a character of fascinating moral ambiguity. Williams delivers a performance balancing charm and calculation, creating a character whose betrayal feels simultaneously shocking and inevitable. His arc from self-interested businessman to committed ally provides one of the film's most satisfying character journeys. Williams prepared for the role by developing a backstory where Lando and Han had been friends with a complex history, infusing their reunion scene with subtle tension visible in their body language. Perhaps the most extraordinary performance comes from someone never seen on screen. Frank Oz's puppetry and voice work as Yoda created a character so convincing that audience test screenings showed viewers connecting emotionally with the puppet as deeply as with human actors. Oz developed Yoda's distinctive syntax after studying how Zen philosophers structured their sentences, believing the unusual word order would make Yoda's wisdom seem ancient and otherworldly. The character required such intense concentration that Oz could only film for brief periods before needing breaks. What makes these performances particularly remarkable is that they occur in a film dominated by groundbreaking visual effects. While lesser films might treat characters as secondary to spectacle, Empire ensures that every technical achievement serves the emotional journey of its protagonists. This integration of character and spectacle established a template that the best blockbusters still strive to follow today. The Millennium Falcon failing to jump to light speed, a severed hand tumbling into the abyss, a hero frozen in carbonite, his face locked in a silent scream. These haunting images represent the bold, creative choices that initially divided critics, but eventually elevated The Empire Strikes Back to the crown jewel of the Star Wars saga. When Empire premiered in 1980, critical reception was surprisingly mixed. The New York Times called it a children's tale wrapped in a great deal of sound and fury, while the Washington Post described it as a lifeless copy of Star Wars propelled chiefly by its imaginative special effects. Many reviewers, expecting the same light-hearted adventure as the original, were taken aback by the darker tone, unresolved ending, and moral ambiguity. What these initial reviews missed, and what audiences instinctively grasped, was that Empire was deliberately subverting expectations. The film's $209 million domestic box office, equivalent to roughly $718 million today, demonstrated that viewers were hungry for something more complex than a simple rehash. The film's reputation evolved dramatically over subsequent decades. By the 1990s, Empire had been reconsidered as not just the best Star Wars film, but one of the greatest sequels ever made. This reassessment coincided with growing appreciation for how the film expanded the mythological dimensions of the saga through Yoda's Taoist and Buddhist-influenced teachings. The various special edition changes introduced to Empire in 1997, 2004, and 2011 proved particularly controversial. While some alterations were minor, color corrections, and improved matte paintings, others fundamentally changed character moments, like adding Luke's scream during his fall, criticized for undermining his stoic choice to face death rather than join Vader. Hidden details reward dedicated fans. The ice planet Hoth was named after an Imperial general mentioned in the original Star Wars novelization. Sound designer Ben Burt created the Tauntaun sounds, from a slowed-down Asian sea otter. The carbon freezing chamber scene was added late specifically because Lucas was uncertain whether Harrison Ford would return for a third film. The legendary "I am your father" twist was protected with extraordinary secrecy. Even James Earl Jones, who voiced Vader, initially thought he was recording a deception rather than the truth, only understanding after consulting with Lucas that he was delivering the saga's most shocking revelation. Empire's most enduring impact was transforming audience expectations for middle chapters. Before it, second installments were often seen as mere bridges. After, the middle chapter became where franchises took their greatest creative risks, a pattern visible in everything from The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, to The Dark Knight. The silhouette of Darth Vader, backlit against the misty carbon freezing chamber. Luke's anguished face as he processes an unthinkable truth. The Millennium Falcon escaping into an uncertain future. Over 40 years later, these images from The Empire Strikes Back remain embedded in our collective consciousness, their power undiminished by time or countless imitators. The film's influence on modern cinema is difficult to overstate. When Christopher Nolan crafted The Dark Knight, he explicitly cited Empire as his template for creating a darker, more complex second act that raised the stakes while deepening character development. When James Cameron developed Aliens, and when Rian Johnson approached The Last Jedi, the shadow of Empire loomed large over their approach to sequel making. Empire reshaped our entire approach to franchise storytelling. The concept that a middle chapter could be more than just a bridge, that it could be the emotional and thematic core of a larger narrative, has become foundational to modern blockbuster cinema. From Infinity War to The Two Towers, filmmakers continue to follow the blueprint Empire established. Introduce complications that seem insurmountable, separate your heroes, test their resolve, and leave audiences desperate for resolution. The cultural footprint extends far beyond cinema. I Am Your Father has transcended its original context to become shorthand for any major revelation. Yoda's inverted syntax, "do or do not, there is no try," has influenced how we discuss effort and achievement. Even the film's production model, with Lucas stepping back from directing to focus on world building, prefigured modern franchise development. Perhaps most significantly, Empire demonstrated that popular entertainment could tackle complex themes without sacrificing accessibility. Through its exploration of identity, temptation, and the blurry line between good and evil, the film invited audiences to engage with philosophical questions while thrilling them with space battles and lightsaber duels. What's your favorite moment from The Empire Strikes Back? Is it the Vader revelation, the introduction of Yoda, or perhaps a quieter character moment that resonated with you? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the films that shaped cinema history. If you enjoyed this analysis, hit that notification bell so you never miss our next video essay.